Imagine walking through the remnants of an ancient city. It's silent, haunting. Once this place was alive, full of people, thriving with culture and innovation. But now it's a ruin. What happened here? Was this city, this entire civilization, doomed from the start? Or is there a hidden story we are missing? What if the stories that we are led to believe are just myths? There is a common story of how these civilizations were wiped out. Like the Maya civilization, they were the victim of unstoppable climate change. Several periods of extreme drought destroyed their crops as they relied on rain for agriculture, and that killed off thousands. The cities, their palaces, and pyramids disappeared into the jungles, only to be rediscovered by explorers centuries later in the 19th century. There is a similar story about Easter Islanders. They chopped down all palm trees in their small isolated island for farmland, gradually degrading their environment, reducing their food production, and ultimately cutting themselves off from the sea. When Europeans arrived in the 18th century, they found a population struggling to survive and wondered how such a primitive people had managed to create such an enormous stone heads or moai that dotted the landscape. But are these stories right? Is this really what happened to Maya and Easter Islander? To some extent, this account might hold some truth, but they don't tell the whole story. These popular theories often attribute the fall of civilizations to single causes like environmental damage and climate change, but they will never show you the complete picture. Archaeologists believe that these stories are often presented as tales intended to frighten us, as they promote environmental responsibilities, warning us that we will bring about the end of our own global civilizations if we don't change. It's not a bad reason, by the way, especially since these issues are major concerns in our present times, like overpopulation, climate change, and human-caused environmental impacts. However, this perspective oversimplifies the complexities behind the fall of these ancient societies. When you talk about the collapse of civilization, it's not as clear-cut as it sounds. Some signs of collapse include the breakdown of political unity as larger states break up into smaller, independent regions. Cities are often abandoned or partially deserted, so the centralized functions they once provided start to disappear, economies weaken and fragment. We also need to think about what we apply the term collapse to. Rather than saying the civilization collapse, it's more accurate to say that a state's collapse. A state is something we can identify, whereas civilization is a more slippery term. If we think of Egyptians or Roman civilizations, we realize that none of these collapsed. They transformed as circumstances and value changes. Take Rome, for example. After the Western Empire fell, the Eastern Empire or Byzantine Empire thrived for centuries, and even as Rome's political structure crumbled, its culture, laws, and infrastructure shaped Europe for centuries or generations. It's the same with Maya and Easter Islander. People have confused civilization and state. The Maya world was spread across a huge region with many different environments. It was an old and interconnected world of cities and kings, divided up among superstates of wide influence and more modest kingdoms that could fall under their control. For most ancient societies like Maya, collapse didn't mean total extinction. We would expect to see a series of state collapses over a period of around 3 centuries. Some states within the Maya culture zone did collapse, and specific parts of that culture were rejected. Like it's very clear what happened in a specific collapse, as at Cancuin in the Payson River region of the southern Maya lowlands. Around 800 CE, there was a fierce battle in this city. The city's rulers and elite lost. The city's grand building and monuments were systematically defaced or destroyed, and the city was abandoned. This story, which is based on the archaeological evidence at Cancun, tells us about a single rapid collapse, the violent end of one Maya state and its elite class. The Maya did not disappear, although over time cities were abandoned, the population fell, and aspects of Maya life changed. For example, the rule of the mighty holy lords, the Kuhul Azau, was rejected. The Maya were still there, living in a complex society. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th centuries, cities and trade remained, and the Maya collected their wisdom in the books. During and after the period of the collapses, new cities were founded or refounded, and rivalries between noble families continued. At times, cities were abandoned either by ruling elites or by the entire population. This happened for various reasons, such as internal conflicts and political struggles, food shortages, or outbreak of diseases like plague. It was the Spanish who sought to destroy the ancient Maya culture, as they destroyed the last independent Maya kingdom as well. Thousands of Maya books were burned, and Maya families were broken up and their children re-educated by force. Even so, millions of Maya descendants live in Central America today. The idea that the Maya civilization collapsed seems wrong and carry with the wrong kind of implications. One implication is that Maya all disappeared. Another is that their post-collapse culture is less important or less worthy of our attention. Through many individual collapses, Maya society transformed, a development that is hardly surprising when compared with the changing map of Europe across 5-century period. Maya society continued to change with the arrival of the Spanish and through the colonial and modern eras. Let's shift to the Easter Island, which is now routinely used as a story of eco-disaster leading to population, political, and social collapse. However, before European contact, the island's culture changed but did not necessarily collapse. It's unlikely there was ever a unified state on the island that could collapse. According to expert Thierry Hunt, the population likely never exceeded 4,000, a sustainable number. There is not conclusive evidence of population collapse before European contact, which is a key part of the eco-disaster model. The Moai carving did stop, but the existing statues remained important for around a century. Easter Islanders did not face climate change or the eco-related destruction of the environment. Their way of life was sustainable. Once again, it was outsiders who brought the disease and change. As with the Maya, the local culture was targeted for destruction. The population was drastically reduced by slave raiding, with only about 750 islanders left by 1864. Why are dramatic stories of civilization collapse so appealing in contrast with the more complex version suggested by many archaeologists? Looking at past collapse, they allow us to feel superior to past societies by understanding their failures and believing we can avoid this same fate. This reinforces our sense of progress and makes us feel important as we consider the impact we have on the future of global civilization. Stories about Maya and climate change or the Easter Islanders' self-destruction are often used to argue about modern environmental issues and potential downfall of our own civilization. However, these tales can oversimplify complex histories and turn them into moral lessons focused on Western perspectives. They highlight the supposed failure of non-Western societies rather than how these societies survived through difficulties and the Western roles in their eventual destruction. When the evidence for environmentally driven collapse in the past is so weak and the evidence for destruction related to contact with Europeans so strong, it's so strange that the focus is on environmental change rather than appearance of explorers and invaders. Perhaps we should be asking ourselves what exactly we should be learning from history. Thank you for watching.